edition.
Sunday morning to you. We got new music here on the Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave, Michigan State Spartans, Central Michigan Chippewas. We got all sorts of stuff in this sports cave. Welcome, welcome. Happy Sunday morning. My name is Justin Rose. I'm joined today by Art Regner, FoxSportsDetroit.com writer, Keith Nickel, former Spartan wide receiver quarterback, turned, I don't know, just Uber fan now and talking Spartans. And if you're a Spartan fan, if you have any ties to Michigan State, what a New Year's Day for you. Keith, just what were you doing? Where were you? Where are you when, State made the comeback official?
I was at my family's house watching the game. We were throwing a little party for it, and I was running laps around the house and jumping up and down when they were coming back like that. It was an incredible win and a great way to start out 2015 for Spartan fans.
Art, they're down 20 points in the fourth quarter. You got to be sitting there. Did you turn it off? Did you watch the rest of the game?
I watched the whole thing. You know what I thought was most refreshing about the Spartans' victory, besides them winning, was the fact is that face mask call, which you see all the time. How many football games do you watch where a receiver or a running back, when he breaks clear, is touching the guy's face mask and pulling it? For them to call it at that time, a game in Texas, I know officials get a lot of heat, but I thought that was, first of all, it was the right call. I mean, he pulled him right down to the ground. I mean, it's obviously a penalty, but I don't see it that often. So, because that changed the whole complexion of the game right there. They blocked the field goal, and State goes on and wins.
Yeah, we're gonna get into all of those different things of what exactly made the comeback possible, because it wasn't just one thing, obviously, that made that happen. But the episode title this week that our extraordinary producer Mike Foss has come up with is I Told You So, because these two guys are brought back for this week for a particular reason, because you were both right about something. Keith had this pegged last week. Let's roll the tape. Real quick, what's your prediction?
I'm going to go with the 42-38 win by Michigan State. Defense has got to come up with a big stop at the end.
All right, there it is. You heard it from him. 42-38.
Yeah.
You were off by what? 3 points for
Yep.
And they had the defensive stop in there too.
Yep.
You might be good at this, man. We were just talking about it before. You got a little bit of a sports
broadcasting. Watch enough football, play enough football, you figure it out from time to time.
All right. I almost returned that for a touchdown. Art, that's going back to that face mask penalty.
Yep.
How much moxie will Connor Cook take away from that into the next year?
You could kind of even tell that was one of the moments where you thought, okay, maybe it's not Michigan State's day, right? But then Connor Cook comes back, doesn't get into a rhythm. He's sailing balls a little bit, making the drive, so he doesn't really have a great drive or great throw. But at the end, you could see him kind of in a blackout mode. Throws a great football, kind of dials it in, says this is it. He's thinking a little too much. You could feel that about him. He said, Connor, relax. And he just put the ball on the money when he had to. And that's one of the things that he does so well, is that he has a short-term memory, and he just kind of focuses on that play specifically. He tries to forget what happened to him in the past, and he did a great job at the end on that last throw.
Well, that's, it's almost like a goalie gives up a bad goal. You got to shake it off because there's always another play. And I thought what was really refreshing about this is that they say that good teams make their own luck. And every time Michigan State got a break, they capitalized on that. That's difficult to do. I mean, again, I've been to bowl games before where the Big Ten team, whether it's Michigan or Michigan State, is essentially a road game. And I know there are a lot of Spartan fans there, but they're playing Baylor in Texas. Yeah. And for them to just channel everything out is a testament not only to them and their discipline and resolve as a football team, but also to their coaching staff of being calm 100%. And being cool. I mean, I thought that was an extremely impressive win, and perhaps, and I know the Ohio State-Alabama game was pretty darn good too, but Ohio State was pretty dominant from the beginning to the end of that game. Their turnovers hurt them. I think that Michigan State's victory was probably this far the best of the bowl season, without question.
This is the 4th straight bowl victory for Michigan State, which is a school record. And to make it even better, it's the 4th straight come from behind at halftime. I mean, when people hear that nationally, does this help move the needle to Michigan State a little bit more? Because a lot of people in Baylor, or a lot of people in Texas, a lot of the beat writers are going around asking about Michigan State's national perception. Not a lot of people really remembered Michigan State. I mean, does this, the way that they keep winning these games, I mean, the Rose Bowl was so exciting down to the last finish. Baylor obviously coming from behind. Can this help that perception nationally of Michigan State's a team that can win in the clutch to a person that doesn't watch it every day?
Yeah, I've seen a couple of articles saying, this kind of stamped Michigan State's elite, right? They're going to finish in probably the top 5 now. And they really hadn't had that signature win, I don't think, in the past to say, okay, they're an elite program. But their only 2 losses now have been to Ohio State and Oregon, who are going to be playing for the national title game.
Shocker.
They're they're as competitive as anybody. They beat Baylor, who a lot of people wanted to be in the
Right.
Final Four, maybe outside of that TCU. But I mean, Michigan State is now consistently in the top 10 at the end of every year. They've had comeback wins against SEC teams, Big 12 teams now. I think it's a cultural thing with Coach D'Antonio, and Arduzzi's leaving, but you see that the teams just won't quit. And that's a big deal when you're talking about trying to win those big-time games.
I'm already looking forward to when Oregon comes to East Lansing at the beginning of the season next year.
Well, that'll be
I mean, that's going to be unbelievable because they could be defending national champions.
I don't want to put a damper on the Spartan parade at all. I really don't, because they deserve everything they get. I just think that Michigan State, for some reason, if Harbaugh is able to make Michigan again, or in those eyes, and then you have Brian Kelly at Notre Dame, and you have Urban Meyer obviously at Ohio State. Just natural perception. I think Michigan State has always had kind of a tough road to go because of those three schools. I think that's why Nick Saban left. But Mark D'Antonio, I think he's the wild card here. I don't think anybody ever expected Michigan State to get a coach of that caliber. Not only that caliber, because they've had him before, like a Nick Saban, but they leave. This is his destination job, and I think that's the difference. So I think the longer D'Antonio is there, and I think he's going to be there for quite a while, I think that he will, he's established himself. Now the tough thing, and Keith knows this, I mean, he played, you got to do it. Now people, they don't, when they think Michigan or the state of Michigan in football, they don't think necessarily Michigan anymore. They think Michigan State. That's a lofty position to be in. People are going to be shooting for him. Although with D'Antonio there and what they proved against Baylor, I think that they're in pretty good sorts. I really do.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head. They're always going to have that chip on their shoulder. And Keith, I know you understand that Spartan football player. Hey, we have something to prove. We're not the highly touted guys, but we're going to come out and play, and they're really embracing it. But the theme of this show is I told you so, because 2 weeks ago, somebody on this very show said that it was 100% done, Harbaugh to Michigan. Let's look back.
It's going to happen. I expect that he'll resign on the 30th of December or get fired or whatever is going to happen. And then, on hopefully not New Year's Day, but, New Year's Day or January 2nd, sure, he's in Ann Arbor singing the praises of the Maize and Blue.
Well, all we do is break news here on the Suburban Ford 7 Sports Game.
I should have worn that sweater again.
I know. I'm never wearing
that
mine
was
again.
Sharp.
I mean, Art, you had it pegged. You congratulations. I mean, because to go on record,
you got to be humble, right, Keith?
Yeah, you got to.
Listen to you guys. Is that the humble couch over there?
Yeah, it's a humble couch here. Yes, definitely.
But, okay, so they got it done. Michigan got their man. I think that obviously they had the whole college football spotlight on them for the majority of this week up until basically New Year's Day, when Michigan State and Ohio State were able to regain some of that for the Big Ten.
But it was good for the Big Ten.
Yeah, that's my next point. How big is this for the Big Ten?
It's obviously huge. I mean, I don't see any reason why Michigan and Michigan State can't be dominant forces in the Big Ten. That game, and I know the legislature for years actually tried to move that game to like the end of the year and make it something, but Michigan's never going to give up Ohio State at the end of the year. And it looks like Penn State and Michigan State are going to play too, which is great.
Top 4 teams in the East.
Hey, that's great. I think that's a good way to close out the season before the championship game. Look, this thing has been going on forever, and I think a couple of factors had to happen. One, Dave Brandon had to be gone, and once Dave Brandon was gone, I think they turned back to Jimmy's camp, led by his dad Jack, and said, "Look, okay, how serious are you?" And I think the thing where the clue was throughout the thing, you could see how much Jim loves the University of Michigan. Right. You could just feel it. I mean, when he's quoting, I used to go to Moe's Sports Shop. Well, at one time, if you wanted any kind of Michigan paraphernalia, you had to go to Moe's Sports Shop. It wasn't at Penny's or, Montgomery Ward or even Federal's or any place like that. So he loved the school. If he didn't want the job, he would have told them. Yeah. So it went dark in Ann Arbor. Yeah. It really did. So it was all leading. Jim Hackett, that's the story for me. Where did Jim Hackett come from? Where did Mark Schlissel, the president of the University of Michigan, find him? Did Hackett say, hey, look, I was a real successful guy at Steelcase. I know Jack Harbaugh. I have a relationship with him. I can bring Jimmy to Ann Arbor. Because despite what anybody's ever heard, he never was offered the job until this year. Yeah. It's the job, as you could tell, he always wanted. I mean, this was done a long time ago, Justin and Keith. It really was. This was not something that when Jim said, when were you offered the job? And he said yesterday. Well, technically he was offered the job and he signed the contract. This has been in the works for a long time.
The first thing that's going to obviously happen, it's already happening if you look on social media, recruiting. Kids are starting to be like, oh, Jim Harbaugh's there. He could potentially develop me. And as you said earlier, this is a team that has talent. It just needs to be coached up. Here's what Harbaugh had to say about recruiting moving forward on his induction day.
I really enjoy that part of it. That's one of my favorite things about coaching college football is to recruit, to get to know families, make relationships, not with the player, just with the player, but or the student athlete, but with the entire family. When a family drops off their youngster at our doorstep, they are dropping off their most prized possession and take great responsibility in making sure that we return the same quality youngster.
You know, I got to wonder, is Harbaugh going to sound like that? He's like his Tom Izzo voice.
I was thinking his next stop should be U Hospital, man. He doesn't look too good in that shot. I don't know if I wanted to drop my kid off with a guy who has typhoid or something.
Probably hasn't gotten much sleep lately.
No.
Yeah, busy NFL season to end, but we're going to be talking about this as the show continues on. This is the part of the show where you guys at home get on Twitter, use the hashtag 7SportsCave. We're going to be asking the analysts both, whatever you guys want to talk about, get on Twitter, type it in. We'll be taking it next right here on the Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave.